This is Alexia. Jessica and Lou, do you want to kick us off?
I would,
Yes, I'm
Jess, I think you're still cutting in and out, but I thought we were going to wait until everyone got in. But if you guys want us to start now, we could.
yes.
Okay, awesome. Let's do this. All right.
Yes.
So, got it. Hmm.
You want to start, Lou, or you want me to start?
Sure, I'll start. Welcome, everyone, to the AAPD Access Your Power as a Voter event. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And we're going to talk about the empowerment of voting and why it is important, why you got to make you, why we have to make our voices heard, and how we could, most importantly, access our power. So stay tuned for the rest of the show, and I'm going to pass it over to my awesome co-host, Jessica.
This is from Rev. Black. I have Afro, and I use a wheelchair, and I have one of the vintage shirts on from.
Jessica, this is Alexia. Jessica, we are getting some technical difficulties of your sound breaking up. You might have to turn off your video and see if that helps.
I also forgot to give a visual description of myself. So I'm a brown man with brown eyes and black hair, wearing glasses, a navy blue, I think it's navy blue blazer, and a light blue shirt.
Awesome. Thank you, Lou. And Lou, can you give us an overview of what accessibility we have this evening?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us for the oh, sorry, I just got my words messed. Thank you so much for joining us for the ending celebration of Disability Voting Rights Week. A few notes about accessibility before we get started. We have ALS interpreters and CART. You can see the captions by clicking the CC button in your bottom toolbar or by clicking on the link in the chat. If you have any accessibility issues, please message Alexia or raise your hand. We want this event to be fun and engaging, but please keep yourself on mute during speakers and performers. Sorry about that, everyone. So Disability Voting Rights Week is about building the power of the disability vote and raising awareness about the policies and practices that prevent disabled voters from accessing their ballot. This week, there were over 50 virtual and in-person events around the country, including voter registration, candidate forums, proclamation signings, demonstrations of voting machines, and more. To celebrate, we have a packed lineup of musical guests, artists, and speakers. Our first creative performer I want to introduce is Derek Hurd. Derek Hurd is 22 years old. He lives in Albany, Georgia. He has his own graphic design business called Derek's Doodles, and he does graphic art to promote disability rights and voter advocacy. Derek will also be creating throughout this event, so we will spotlight him a few times so you can see what he's working on. We will describe his art too. Then we will see his final works at the end. Derek, is there anything you want to share?
Thank you for being here. My name is Derek Hurd. I live in Albany, Georgia. My graphic business called Derek's Doodles. I love to vote. This is this is Are you ready to vote? Hey, Derek, I am ready to vote.
Oh, wow, that is amazing, Derek.
Yes. This is and I'm going to start with our first performer. He has been an artist for half.
Jessica, this is Alexia. We're still having trouble with your audio. Do you want to try turning your camera off and talking and see if that helps?
Yeah. This is Jessica Mathis, and I'm introducing Jeff Moyer. He has been a disability rights advocate for half a century. He has been an extreme part of the disability rights movement in the early 1970s, and he has created albums such as Lest We Forget and People First. He's a very cool artist, and we would like to feature his song. Alexa.
All right, this is Alexia. Jeff, can you tell us just a little bit about the context of this song we're about to play?
Yes. First of all, it's a pleasure to see all of you virtually. I am getting that echo. Alexia, if we can change that. I've been a disability rights songwriter for 50 years, actually. And songs need a hook. So that when you listen to the song, after it's over, you know the title of it because it repeats so many times. And if you think of your favorite songs, I'm sure you'll find a lot of examples of what I'm talking about. So, for example, during the 504 demonstration in 1977, I took an old civil rights song called Hold On and rewrote it for the demonstration to tell our story. And it turned out that Hold On was really an important idea because people held on for 26 days, the longest in US history, to lead to the signing of our first disability rights regulations. The ADA anthem, which I wrote during the passage of the ADA effort, I wanted to write a song that would raise up the idea of the ADA in a powerful way. So I wrote an anthem, which is still used when the ADA is celebrated every July 26th. And for Rev Up, you gave me the perfect idea for the song, Rev Up. So I wrote the song about energizing, both to resist the people who would obstruct our voting and also to rev up our energy toward increasing the actions which will enable our voting. And after I had recorded the song, it occurred to me that I have a collection of historic automotive sounds that I recorded when I was acting as a consultant for an auto museum. I wanted to make the exhibits come alive for people who are blind. So I recorded the sounds of the cars. And I used my collection and brought out many sounds of automobiles and airplanes revving to create the kind of complete the soundscape of the song. So That's how Rev Up came to be. And I'm just so honored to be a part of this grand campaign. As an old guy, it's nice to be called off the bench. Bob Kafka, who is a Rev Up organizer from Texas, asked me to write a song for Rev Up, and that's why I did it.
Alexia, thank you so much, Jeff. We are so happy to have you. So now, without further ado, we are going to play the soon-to-be hit single, Rev Up by Jeff Moyer.
As if your very life depends on it, because it does, said the great Justin Dart. The extremists will end democracy, the extremists will tear it apart. Rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up. Rev up against voter suppression. Rev up against closing our polls. Rev up for mail-in voting, against stripping voter rolls. Rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up. Rev up for voter registration, get our people to the polls. Rev up for the mighty ADA, make our voting power whole. Rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up. Rev up for disability and human rights. Rev up for every righteous fight. For the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. For our people voting power, might. Rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up. Rev up against exclusionary blockheads who deny our civil rights. Rev up for voting access, for candidates joining our fight. Rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up, rev up. Vote as if your very life depends on it, because it does, said the great Justin Dart. The extremists will end democracy, the extremists will tear it apart. Rev up, 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 rev
Thank you, Jeff, for making
That song can be
Song?
found on YouTube.
such
If you go to the Blind Jeff Moyer channel and search for Rev Up, it is there.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Jeff. Thank you for all of your awesome work and musicianship. Now I'm going to hand over to Lou Paniccioli as he introduces our next guest speaker.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
No, this always happens to me at work too. I always forget I'm on mute. So Jeff left, but I just wanted to say thank you, Jeff, for the great kickoff. This is going awesome. But I want to take the time to introduce our first guest speaker, Miss Diana Mairose. And I hope I pronounced your name right, Diana. Diana is a member of the advocacy support team with Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services in Ohio. She has worked there since 2008, and Diana has worked on many state and local bills that impact people with disabilities. She's also passionate about connecting with young leaders in voting.
Thank you, Lou, and thank you, everybody, for taking your time out of your day. Voting is part of me, my voting story, and how I got there. When I voted, it taught me that sometimes you need a team. I have two stories on how I started my voting journey. Voting and relationships go hand in hand. I was learning how to be an advocate and help people tell their story. My first friend was Carol Lee. We worked together for several years. She brought me to the library to pick up the correct forms in order to register to vote. She understood my struggle with registering at community events. I also learned what the Board of Elections was and who to contact if I needed help. My voting journey continued from there. Next, I met my friend Essie at a training that she taught. She introduced me to self-advocates becoming empowered. Currently, I am one of the Region 5 representatives. I attended my first SAFE conference in Indianapolis, Indiana. I met several great advocates and leaders from the Project Vote team. With the help from the advocacy team back in Cincinnati, I was able to help with a voting survey that tells leaders about how voters with disabilities felt with their voting experience. In my second and third year, Ohio ranked number 2 in collecting surveys. I had the help of many friends and advocacy organizations. A powerful relationship continues. Essie also saw my ability to teach others while learning how I enjoyed civic engagement and voting in my community. She introduced me to the SAFE Co-Voter Toolkit and the option to teach others about their voting rights and how to vote. With her help and my P&A partners, I was trained to be a trainer for the whole voter team. When I completed the training, I also trained 20 states on the whole voter toolkit. I have also done training for other states on Zoom. The Save Go Voter Toolkit can also help with resources and connecting people with voting ideas and solutions. Working together in civic engagement. I plan to write articles about the importance of civic engagement and voting. I know I will volunteer to testify about a topic that I care about at my state capitol. I have spoken about voting barriers for people with disabilities at the Disability Policy Seminar in Washington, D.C. I hope they will continue to ask me again. I volunteer to train poll workers on new machines at the Board of Elections. I also stay in contact with my legislators on concerns about voting or the community needs. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Awesome. So, and once again, another third round of awesomes for Diana and her awesome speech. So before we move on, let's see what Derek's up to. Derek, what are you working on, bud?
It says right here, don't let your voice be taken and be silent.
Nice, my friend, nice. My friend, you're gonna be the Vincent Van Gogh of the disability community one day with that amazing artwork. I gotta hand it to you.
It says why your vote matters.
This Alexia for a visual description. Oh, can you put that one back? It is like Derek said, the title says why your vote matters. Underneath in purple letters it says because we all have a unique life, speak your voice. And then there at the bottom is drawings of people of all different races, genders, all different disabilities represented. And together they are all saying, my vote is strong. Amazing. Thank you, Derek.
Yes. And for the next guest speaker that is coming up, Mr. Brendan Stern. My name is Jessica Mathis, and I'm going to introduce Mr. Brendan Stern. He is a tenured social professor of American politics, the executive director of the Center for Democracy for Deaf America, and the CCDA is committed to developing a healthy democratic process, skills for fostering disagreement, debate, civic engagement in the American Sign Language. And so now I would like to hand it over to our speaker, Brendan, as he talks about why is a healthy democracy needed, more disagreement needed, because we all need to learn how to work together. Thank you, Brendan.
Good evening. I'm honored to be here. I'm also here because I'm worried about a serious problem that's facing our democracy. Americans are less and less likely to engage in discussion with individuals who are different than themselves, engage in disagreement and debate. That development is worrisome for people like you and me, because if you're here this evening, we have two things in common. First, we're anxious about the future of our democracy. And second, we have a shared hope that this great experiment will somehow endure. But the question is how? To answer that question, we must first remind ourselves of the goals of democracy, which are productive disagreement through representative government. For our multicultural, multiracial, and multilingual democracy of over 320 million individuals from Honolulu to Bangor, how can that work? It can't be an abstract process in which we reduce and simplify our identities and leave stereotypes unchallenged and minimize disinterest under the banner of unity. It's not possible. If we want our democracy to work, we must seek effective ways of checking power and privilege by encouraging vigorous disagreement and challenging simplistic generalizations about us. You might be thinking, well, I disagree with people all of the time. But what makes our disagreements so toxic and so unproductive are how we're refusing to understand our opponents. And we are unable to see things the way that they might. There's a lack of humility in our current process, or opportunities to disagree well. There are effective ways to be able to fight that issue. Historically, there is evidence that shows when we challenge the status quo, when we invite organizations and communities who have differences, and we discuss differing perspectives, that's the key. At Gallaudet University, we started our first ever debate team last fall. I'm the head coach, and it is amazing to see what has happened through that team. Our students are wrestling with the biggest questions of today. We don't debate as deaf people. We debate as citizens. We are talking about critical issues and expanding the hearts and minds of our audience members. If we want to start disagreeing well, we need to get rid of that simplistic status quo of our current government system. So I'm asking you to defy the stereotypes about you and stand up for your identity. When people look at me, they find out that I am deaf. They find out that I'm a fourth generation deaf person in my family. I have a wife who is deaf, 2 kids who are deaf. I teach at Gallaudet University, which is the world's only liberal arts university for the deaf. And what they typically do is assume that My deafness completely shapes my identity, my political opinion, and my beliefs, but that's not true. So let me tell you, when I look in the mirror every morning and I'm brushing my teeth, I don't see a deaf person. I don't think about how I'm going to make it through the day as a deaf person. I see somebody who is anxious about the growing bigotry and division in our country, and I'm anxious about this world and the world we're leaving behind for our kids, my kids. And maybe more often than I want to admit, when you see something that is concerning you, sometimes when I look in the mirror, I see something that is when I look in the mirror and I'm brushing my teeth, I might see something. Oh, I see some tartar. That's what I see, not my deafness. In working as a professor at Gallaudet, I am not completely 100% just focused on deafness and sign language. I am a full-fledged human being. Gallaudet University is a unique place where I have the privilege to unpack, to be criticized, to live as a faculty member, just as other professors at other universities do. I am not impressed by politicians who learn how to sign "I love you." I'm not convinced when a politician or a candidate says that they have a plan for people with disabilities. I'm not convinced. I do believe that it's important that people with disabilities give opportunities and access to candidates. And I do believe that sign language is critical to the understanding of what's happening. American Sign Language is a beautiful language, but I believe that there are more urgent considerations for political candidates, whether that be things that actually do impact me as a deaf person. Racism, anti-Semitism, dogmatism are expanding in our country. We are struggling to live up to our commitment of equality, liberty, and justice for all. So when I'm brushing my teeth, I see a worried father in the mirror. I see a frustrated political scientist. I see a Jew. I see a bleeding heart liberal. If we want to heal our country, we can't just keep looking at our allies who think and look and sign like we do. If we're banding together and that's the only people we're engaging with, nothing will happen. We have to challenge what others think about us. We have to make sure our country is a more equitable place by seeking people who think, feel differently than we do. Then we can disagree well by debating, right? And listening as if we're wrong. Thank you.
It's Alexia. Jessica, you are muted.
Oh,
Jessica, you're muted.
yes. Mr. Brandon, we would like to thank you for your insightful criticism of disagreements, because it can all help us. I mean, if we disagree with the redfish, we need to talk to the redfish. If we disagree with the bluefish, then we need to talk to the bluefish until we can all come together. Excuse me.
Sorry,
Now
my son
I
wants
will turn
to.
it over. Yes. I will turn it over to introduce Derek again.
Thank you. Now, this is the fair to vote.
It's Alexia with a visual description. Derek is holding up a drawing. It says barriers to voting. It's got a red brick wall with a black fist punching through the wall. Bricks are breaking around it. And the bricks are labeled limit absentee voting, long lines, few drop boxes, inaccessibility, limit early voting, and lack of transportation.
Awesome.
Thank you, Derek.
All right, so now it is time, unless the audience has a question for Brendan, unless we already did that. My apologies, I left to get my charger for my laptop. So I wanted to say thank you to Brendan, and we are excited to introduce our second musical guest, Calvin Cook. Calvin is a Christian. Calvin is an individual with a disability and a self-advocate for the disability community who is connected with several disability-related groups. Calvin is a graduate from ASU, that's Arizona State University, with his bachelor's in social work. Calvin is also a business owner and pursuing a career within the financial services field.
Yes, hello everyone. I am Calvin Cook. I wanted to start by sharing I wanted to begin by sharing a testimonial piece that I wrote during one of my daily devotions. This comes from the scripture of Galatians 6:10, and it says, it pretty much says, let us do good to everyone. And I was inspired to write this piece based on that. It goes, I am nowhere perfect. I am patterned, spotted with scribble scrabble, scraped up with scratches as a result of my eraser being snatched up. When powerless is a reality, and epiphany's chance of appearing increases happening. despite maybe needing some bandages, I am happier, ironically. No, I mean like sonically. I was a hedgehog pressed against that wall in that room, left alone, back down in that box. I cannot keep clamped down in that box. Shut off there will mean a loss. It feels like I cannot exclaim it enough. Why no one explains it enough takes me off. Catch a whiff before sense is gone. I feel like a bomb. This is just me blowing up. Boom. Beautiful. And I feel like based on that scripture, let us do good to everyone. I feel like one way that we can do good to everyone, to our community, and even the individuals who are against us, who are creating those barriers against us, is by speaking up, is by sharing our voice. And with that, Alexia, if you are there, am I able to play that song, or should I just go ahead and do that?
Miss Alexia, Calvin, it is up to you. Do you want me to play it?
I would like to play it. I think that would be more impactful.
Okay. Do you want to give an introduction of it?
Yes. So this song is called Home Run, and it is a song that I was asked to write for an organization called SARTAC, and it is encouraging voting rights and sticking up for our rights.
Awesome. Okay, here is Home Run by Calvin Cook.
Poetics, bring the drums in.
We all got the right, speak up for your right. Feel up in the night, advocate for what is right. Feel up in the night, speak up for your right. We all got the right, we all got the right. We all got the right, speak up for your right. Feel up in the night, advocate for what is right. Feel up in the night, speak up for your right. We all got the right, we all got the right. It's been a long time coming and we here now. We can't stop, no, we gotta persevere now. If you with me, let me hear you give it cheer now. It's been a lot, and we so close to the win now. They try to hold us down, they try to treat us lesser. They added too much stress, but that meant the mouth for pressure. So I'm a break, if you want break, we can do this together. So let's tell her we got to drive to beat the stormy weather. Shout out to the leaders before us, who made a way and paved the way and left the blueprint so we could focus on what's most important. We equal, we all people. We all got the right, speak up for your right. Feel up in the night, advocate for what is right. Feel up in the night, speak up for your right. We all got the right, we all got the right. We all got the right, speak up for your right. Feel up in the night, advocate for what is right. Feel up in the night, speak up for your right. We all got the right,
We all got the right. Society is on a mission to help increase diversity amongst the advocates of cannabis. Despite the tragedies of those who aim to segregate and increase the hate, we ain't gotta relate on this new wave. Elevate and see it clear in the Blu-ray. We can still love like Cool J, but let me relax. I might think I'm in on the being man. How I've been flipping on the beat to help turn the page. Today's the day for you and me. Let this be the place we meet. May this further help us free. We all got the right, speak up for your right. Get up in the night, advocate for what is right. Get up in the night, speak up for your right. We all got the right, we all got the right. We all got the right, speak up for your right. Get up in the night, advocate for what is right. Get up in the night, speak up for your right. We all got the right, we all got the right. Each one, teach one. Sartec is a family affair. That's just me and you in the building. By meeting you online at self-advocacyinfo.org. Yeah.
Limiting thoughts versus unlimited thoughts, okay? So this is the title of this little section here. Limiting thoughts versus unlimited thoughts.
Yeah, that was it. Thank you so much. That is great, Calvin. I'm going to hand it back to Lou now.
Awesome. So listen to Home Run by Calvin Cook, aka I'm sorry, my glasses are messing up. Die True on SoundCloud.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so with that, does the audience have any questions for Calvin? Anyone? Okay. Then I'll ask Calvin. So, what inspires you to make music?
I am inspired to make music. More specifically on that song. I was grateful and inspired to make that specific song. Because I am a self-advocate. I am active in the disability community. I have worked with some of the groups I am a part of in the disability community when it comes to voting rights, and I do understand the importance of voting rights. In general, though, I am inspired to write music because it is very therapeutic for me. It allows me to share my voice and my opinion. And I do believe that it is very encouraging for others. I get some positive feedback. And I believe that's because there are many others who are feeling the same way I feel. And maybe they're just unsure of how to voice their opinions and feelings. So I believe that I am doing them a service by creating and sharing, and that encourages me to keep doing it.
Awesome, Calvin. Awesome.
That's very great.
I want to turn it over to my co-host, Jessica.
Yes. That was very great, Mr. Calvin. and I enjoyed everybody here. We're going to turn it over to Derek to see his paintings or drawings for the one last time. Derek is very great at drawing, and I really have appreciated his drawings. So please, Derek, come up and show it again.
This is a history of allies. Up next is Alex Wong.
Oh, wait, can you go back real quick, Derek? This is Alexia. Quick visual description. This is a drawing of Alice Wong, who is an Asian woman sitting in a wheelchair. She has a trach and a ventilator, and behind her is a bright blue sky with clouds, and it says revolutionary.
Oh, man.
Do you want to introduce this one, Derek?
This is Chain Mark. It's called Law's Curse.
And this painting has a portrait, a headshot of Lois Curtis, who is a Black woman. She is grinning. You can see her smile lines. She's got short black hair and earrings, and it says Changemaker.
And this one is Judy Human. This one is Judy Human.
This visual piece has kind of a tie-dye background with blue and purple and yellow. In the middle is Judy Human, smiling big. She is a white woman with short curly brown hair and pink glasses. And beneath her it says Pioneer.
And this one is
Wow.
And this visual description, this is a painting of a Black woman with big curly black hair. She is smiling and wearing a green shirt. Behind her is kind of a watercolor background with different splotches of yellow, orange, and blue that are all kind of mixing together. And next to her, it says Freedom Act.
Wow.
Last
That's
but not
great.
least, it's Black man named Brad Lomax.
And this visual description
Yeah.
is
I finished that one.
This is the one you were working on, right?
Yeah, but I finished now.
awesome. This is one Derek was just working on, he says. It is a drawing of a Black man with a blue shirt, a blue collared shirt on. He's speaking into a microphone. He's got short black hair. He's smiling, speaking loud. And behind him is a graphic design feature that is a yellow circle on a green background. And beneath it, it says Powerful Black Man.
Yay. Derek, that is great drawing. That is great drawing.
This is Alexia. Jessica, do you
I
want
would
to
like
take this time to share about
Yeah,
accessible voting tips?
Yes. Before we leave, I'm just gonna share a little bit about accessible voting tips. Please make sure that you have accessible transportation. When you're making a voting plan, call your bus or paratransit a couple of days ahead of time to make sure it's scheduled. And if you need support, call for transportation. Please let your families know, let your advocates, let your caregivers, your family members, your advocates know. And also, don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. If you do not feel that your rights are being met, you can call the voter protection line in your state. And always remember, you can go to the line 30 minutes or ahead of people that are able-bodied. If you have been in the line for more than 30 minutes and you are a person with a disability, or you are elderly, you can ask if you can get accommodations early. But please make sure that you have your transportation set up. Make sure that you know that you can call to your voter protection agency and call to your local advocacy agency if you need to know about laws in your state. Thank you.
Miss Alexia, awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. And now I'm going to see if any of our panelists are still around, if we can invite them back on screen for a Q&A of our panelists. If you are on and open, go ahead and turn your video on and we will bring you on screen.
Am I on?
You are on, Diana. All right, Miss Alexia, do we have any questions from our audience for our panelists? You can raise your hand and we'll unmute you, or you can put them in the chat. All right, while we wait for audience questions to roll in, I have a question for Diana. Diana, how did you first get interested in civic engagement?
It was a mixture of my family and also one of my very good friends. And I became a campaign supporter for him. There's a parade in every town. So I did a lot of parades actually. Some were very long and some were very short, but I think it was something that I, like how we all said today, if we don't vote, we don't make a change. And I also want to say that one of the laws that I helped pass is to eliminate the word handicapped from public signs. And this is a budget neutral bill. It was for all new signs and new establishments that are being in the city, in Cincinnati, Hamilton County, and the state of Ohio. I also want to let people know, don't give up. Be creative. It's learn from others. I work for an agency. We serve over 8,000 people with disabilities. And we have a levy that we need to pass every 5 years, sorry. And we, times are tough. We had flat funded for 10 years. And through advocacy and family members and technology, we are doing more with less and just learning how we can have synergy in our world.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you for all your advocacy. I want to ask Brendan a question. Brendan, you talked about needing to talk to people who have different opinions for us than us. What are some small ways that people can start doing that? How do we break out of our circles to meet people that we disagree with?
That is a great question. And I don't have an easy answer. In this day and age, it's difficult. We're living in bubbles, increasingly so, both physically and online. So I think the first step would be to follow people on social media with whom you disagree. Too often, we're following people who we like, but we end up preaching to the choir and listening to the choir. So I think the first step would be to follow people on social media who you don't agree with and try to engage with them. It might not turn out well, but nothing beats an in-person connection and conversation. So with that in mind, I would encourage everybody to attend events, public events, where there are diversity of opinion being represented, like debates. And just have fun. That is the democratic experience.
Okay.
Thank you, Brendan. Go ahead, Jessica.
Alexia, this is Lydia. She got her hand up. She got the Lydia Nunez. She got the yellow hand up.
All right, Lydia, do you want to go ahead and unmute for your question?
Am I unmuted now? Okay. So actually, I had my hand up right before you asked the question, Alexia, but
Brendan said, Lydia, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Brendan said, just joking.
So my question, well, first of all, I really enjoyed your lecture, and I would love for you to maybe somehow come back and host a webinar on this topic and go into further detail. So I think, like, facilitating civil discourse that enables us to understand across, perhaps wide ideological gulfs, like you mentioned, is very important, I think. But, how exactly do we do this to increase genuine understanding? Because so often these discussions quickly veer off course. And, as you know, words are very powerful and have lasting consequences. Words are also can be propaganda, and that has the power to undermine democracies. And so I think that's, you you bring up a great point, and I would love to I would love to have a webinar or something where, you know, we can all get together and learn how to do this in a way that's sincerely productive without people screaming at each other or, you know, making hurtful comments that, you know, people sometimes never really fully recover from. But I think, yeah, basically Alexia just asked my question too. So.
I am honored that you would want me to follow up with a webinar, and I am more than happy to work with Alexia and you to make that happen. So what you said about the power of the word. Yeah, so often people make threats, and your question and your concern is real. It's a challenge. One way of approaching it, however, is that we are tougher than we realize. We have experienced worse in our lives than words. So it's true that words can hurt. But like Eleanor Roosevelt said, nothing can make us inferior without our consent. So always keep that quote in mind.
Thank you. This Alexia, I also want to highlight a great suggestion in the chat. Alicia Lane said, regarding where to find people who disagree with you, attending legislative hearings in your state are a great way to find and listen to those people, specifically committee hearings. And Alicia, having been to many state legislative committee hearings,
I agree.
I could not agree
agree.
more. Maria, you had a question?
Yes. Hi, everyone. This is Maria Town with AAPD. Alexia, I'm also going to break the rules a little bit and just give you a big shout out right now. Thank you for all your work this week and on this incredible event. Thank you for everything you're doing with Rev Up. And this question is specifically for Jeff and Calvin. And the other panelists can answer it if they would like, but what role do you think that music plays in movements? And I'll ask a second question. I'm really breaking the rules here, but what can we do to encourage more creativity and diversity in our movement contributions? So Jeff or Calvin, I don't know who wants to start.
Jeff, you look unmuted, so do you want to start with an answer?
Yes. Music has always played a very important role in social movements. It does two things. It binds us together. The late Coretta Scott King said at the Martin Luther King Center for Justice at the National Day of Service a few years ago, when she was talking to all of us about binding our movement together, that music creates community, and that people have come to think of music as something you watch on television. You watch other people do it. And during the 60s, we sang, and it taught me that I learned about ideas, stories, issues through the music of the movement. It also communicated what we were about to the rest of the world. So for people who are not already working for social justice and human rights, songs like Blowing in the Wind, The Times They Are Changing, were anthems that helped recruit new people to our communities. So I think that if we have a song that teaches and that tells truths that cannot be denied, then get those songs out, ask people to listen to them, and sing them in community. When people are together, not only do people want to hear other people's thoughts, but we want to be united in song. And I've always believed that singing is a human right and that everybody's voice needs to be heard, whether you're singing in sign language or using your augmentative and alternative communication device, or you sing very quietly, or you sing with a big, strong voice. All of us need to sing together. And it is connecting our hearts and our minds and our spirits when we sing songs that teach matters of consequence. So look for songs that move you and then ask other people to listen to them, because no doubt it will touch that human chord in them as well.
Miss Alexia, thank you so much, Jeff. I want to read from the chat. Brendan said, great point, Jeff. It makes me think of something that I learned right after I finished my PhD in politics, funnily enough. It's that if we want a healthy democracy, we need less politics and more art. If we want to disagree better, we need to connect as human beings first and foremost, and that is the power of music and art.
Thank you. Yes.
And Calvin, I wanted to turn it to you as well. Do you want to weigh in on Maria's question about the role of music and advocacy and how we bring more creativity and diversity to advocacy?
Yes. Yes, thank you. This is Calvin. And I do really appreciate what Jeff had to say. I am very much in agreement with that. This song is the first that I had an opportunity. This is the first song that I wrote that is related to advocacy. I have other material on my SoundCloud, and I have provided Alexia with that link. I am encouraged though, every time I hear my song Home Run, and very much after I have heard what song that Jeff shared with us today, I am very much encouraged to write more songs in order to encourage and empower movements. I feel like when I listen to my song Home Run, I can hear the passion in the song, and I feel like that is one reason why it is important for individuals to be creative. And I feel like I am feeling like maybe individuals are just thinking that it is something that they cannot do. And I'm saying this based on my experience. I believe for a while I was thinking, oh, I can't write a song. I don't know how to write a song. And I can say now that I just write about how I'm feeling in the moment. I was encouraged to write that song Home Run. And as I started to write it, I was realizing I was only writing about how I was feeling. I was writing based on my experience from being a self-advocate. So I feel like for more individuals to create more, I just feel like they need some encouragement. And I'm here to encourage everybody on this call that you can write and create too.
That's Alexia. Thank you, Calvin. So we have 2 assignments for tonight. Everyone has to go write a song and find someone to disagree with. But I also wanted to read from the chat. We have a request for Jeff and Calvin to collaborate in the future. So maybe someday we will see a co-written song from Calvin Cook and Jeff Moyer. I also wanted to give a chance. This question kind of applies not just to music, but to art too, right? Derek, I saw you put an answer in the chat. Do you want me to read from the chat, or do you want to unmute to share about how art and creativity feature in advocacy for you?
You can read the chat.
Okay, reading from the chat, this is from Derek. He says, words are hard, but my pictures help with my voice. My mom tells me what is happening, and I use pictures as my voice. Amazing. I will add Derek's website to the chat. He has done so many different pieces about supported decision-making, about voting, about advocacy, and more. We also have a question in the chat from Bob Kafka, who says, how can community organizing assist in building the power of the disability vote and rev up? Jessica or anyone, I think you could answer this question, but Jessica, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yes. How community organizing can build up to vote. The word about rev up voting or the AAPD organization is just that you just have to get out there. I mean, I don't mean to make it so simple, but you have to get out in the community. You have to keep hammering that hammer. You have to just keep working at it and keep every chance you get, every community event you go to, every collaboration, all of your friends and family. It's almost like tripling. You spread it out to as many people as you can, and not just people that are directly into disability, but someone who may not be disabled, someone who is able-bodied, someone who is Jewish. This week we just got rev up signs with Spanish on them, and it says yo votar por qué, and so that means in Spanish, why would you vote? Now, we all know that immigrants don't vote sometimes because of the things that America has done against the immigrant, and a lot of them are afraid. But we can still establish conversation with them. We can work with Latino and Hispanic organizations to encourage the vote, just like Mr. Brendan was saying and Miss Diana was saying. How you engage civic engagement is just going out there and trying to find people that are not just in your circle, but figuring out ways of how to get out of your circle. Like for me, for instance, I know how to speak a little bit of Spanish, but sometimes I don't, like when I'm talking to someone so fast, I don't even understand what they're saying, but at least I try to understand somewhat, and that's how you do it. And then the second part of the question is that once you begin to understand and break out barriers like Mr. Brendan and Miss Diana have said in the presentation, then you can come in and talk about policy issues that are related to them, their concerns, and what they want changed in the community. And that's how you do it.
I also want to say, to capitalize on what Jessica spoke about, also encourage people. Talk to your friends, your family, your partners, your neighbors. The neighbor that may not necessarily like you, but highly tolerate you. Talk to him too, you know? Just
Aiden, she's so mad at, oops.
Oh. The more we spread the word, the more we get our voices out there, the more we could empower our community and other communities to vote. Because there is nothing that we cannot overcome and thrive.
Amazing. Do any of our other panelists want to answer? We've got a panel full of community organizers here.
I just
We'll go Diana and then Jeff. Go ahead, Diana.
Sorry, Jeff. I just want to say that, you know, voting is a choice, and I start with that. You know, I don't make people vote, and I emphasize how important that is, because we might not understand their family, what they believe in, what they don't believe in, if they had a bad experience, or, you know, it also has to do with understanding where you come from, what you believe in, and listening to those around you, and understanding that you're not going to know everything, and that we're learning about our system every day, and, you know, we can, and the empowerment of stories is so important. I cannot emphasize that. You know, how I started also was with their permission, was telling people stories on how this bill or law could impact them for the greater good. And I also liked how we discussed the importance of communication devices and not talking for them. And, you know, it's okay to help them say in a minute they will let you know what they want. But don't be afraid to communicate with people who communicate differently, especially in voting.
Thank you, Diana. Jeff?
Yeah, I want to say that one way to communicate powerful ideas is through songs. And what I plan to do is to share the song I wrote, Rev Up, with everybody in my book, 800 people, many of whom have different political opinions than I do. But I'm going to share the song with them. It's at Blind Jeff Moyer, look for Rev Up, and tell people to listen to the song. It takes 3.5 minutes, and it is one way to let people know what our matters of consequence are. And it's an entertaining song, and people can't turn away from it because they want to hear the cars. And the ideas are secondary, but they're going to seep in. So I wish we had a way to share the fantastic artistry that has been shared in this webinar, but we do have ways to share the songs that are in the cloud. So find ways to get the word out and spread the word through those concentrated forms of art that tell our stories and to get the conversation started.
Thank you, Jeff. Derek, I see you have your hand up. Did you have something to show or add?
Hey, Alexa, this is Teresa. I just wanted to just let everyone know how wonderful Rev Up and AAPD has been. Just to give you an idea of just what this organization has meant to us is that Derek did not start a business until he got involved with Rev Up. We had no idea that he was passionate like this until he got involved with Rev Up. And when he got involved with Rev Up, he was doing so much that the people at Rev Up in Georgia said, Derek, you really need to just start a business. You just love this so much. And that is literally how Derek started his journey with his business, was his involvement with Rev Up in Georgia. And so it's just incredible what they've done for us as a family, and since we really didn't have an idea that he was this passionate for this.
Wow.
And it all because of a connection he made with the group Rev Up in Georgia.
Teresa, that almost made me cry. That I did not realize that. That is so cool. It makes me cry too, because I actually knew about Derek's work before I knew fully about Rev Up, and before I had the chance to get connected in the way that I am now. So it just shows you that ripple effect. That is really cool. Well, we are almost at time, but we do have one more question from Joan, real quick.
Hi everyone. I'm Joan Lipkin, and I'm a member of Rev Up in St. Louis. I want to thank you for this incredible program, also for Rev Up's support. We've been using their materials all week. What I wanted to share is that we do a lot of voting rights in the general public as well, although I have a particular commitment to people with disabilities. And I just wanted to share that I'm always looking for ways to say to the general public and general voting organizations, we want a place at the table. So if we're going to put together a program and we're going to have speakers, we're always going to say we want one of those speakers to be a person with a disability. If we're putting on one of our dance projects, which we do, we always have dancers. We always do dance that's inclusive, that everybody can be involved with. Or we have dancers with disabilities as well. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think, yes, and we need to have very specific disability rights voting efforts But we also need to say to everybody who is working on voting efforts, we're at the table. There's over 38 million of us, and we want to be involved. So I just wanted to offer that as a strategy. And Alexia, say thank you for organizing this. I loved everybody's contributions. Congratulations on your new business. I love your drawings. I love your artwork. And I just want to say thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all our panelists for being here and all our access providers, to all of our attendees for taking the time to celebrate Disability Voting Rights Week and come here for this amazing Zoom event. It is 7:30, but I wanted to see if our panelists could stay on for 1 minute for a screenshot for a picture with all our panelists.
Yeah.
Okay, Maria, can we add you to the picture too? Okay.
Our host included?
Yes.
Of course. I have a max number of spotlights. So Gordon, Brendan, oh yeah. Brendan, I'm gonna remove the spotlight interpreter for the picture so I can add my director. Is that okay? Okay. Okay, let me turn off my captions so they aren't blocking Jeff's face.
Do you want the rest of us to turn off our video, Alexia?
You are okay. I have just the panelists on my screen right now, but thank you, Joan. Okay, everyone, this might take me a second to make sure I press the right buttons, but all right, ready? Everybody smile. Okay. All right, I think we got it. Can we do one more just in case? Okay. All right, we got it.
Thank you everybody for.
Thanks everyone for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity, everyone. Take care. Thank you.
He wants to say good night as well. Tell him your name. Alan.
Thank you everyone for an amazing program. Thank you AAPD for allowing me to do this as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for. Bye.